Chapter 13, Part 2. But he read the titles here and there and knew that they contained all of the knowledge of centuries, and that one day they would belong to him. So, if I have a spouse and maybe children, I will have to hide the books from them? The giver nodded. I wasn't permitted to share the books with my spouse. That's correct. And there are other difficulties too. You remember the rules that says the new receiver can't talk about his training? Jonas nodded. Of course he remembered. It had turned out by far to be the most frustrating of the rules he was required to obey. When you become the official receiver, when we're finished here, you'll be given a whole new set of rules. Those are the rules that I obey. And it won't surprise you that I am forbidden to talk about my work to anyone except the new receiver. That's you, of course. So there will be a whole part of your life which you won't be able to share with a family. It's hard, Jonas. It wasn't hard for me. It was hard for me. You do understand, don't you? That this is my life. The memories. Dawes nodded again. But he was puzzled. Didn't life consist of the things you did each day? There wasn't anything else, really. I've seen you taking walks, he said. The giver sighed. I walk, I eat at the meal times, and when I am called by the committee of elders, I appear before them to give them counsel and advice. Do you advise them often? Jonas was a little frightened at the thought that one day he would be the one to advise the ruling body. But the giver said no, rarely. Only when they are faced with something that they have not experienced before. Then they all open me to use the memories and advise them. But but it very seldom happens. Sometimes I wish they'd ask for my wisdom more often. There are so many could things I could tell them, things I wish they would change, but they don't want change. Life here is so ordered, so predictable, so painless. It's what they've chosen. I don't know why they even needed a receiver. Then if they never call off on him, Jonas commented. They need me and you, the giver said, but didn't explain. They were reminded of that 10 years ago. What happened 10 years ago? Jonas asked. Oh, I know. You tried to train a successor and it failed. Why? Why did they remind them? The giver smiled grimly. When the new receiver failed, the memories that she had received were released. They didn't come back to me. They went. He paused and seemed to be struggling with the concept. I don't know exactly. They went to the place where memories once exist before receivers were created. Somewhere out there, he gestured vaguely with his arm, and then the people had access to them. Apparently, that's the way it was once. Everyone had access to memories. It was chaos, he said. They really suffered for a while. Finally, it subsided as the memories were assimilated, but it certainly made them aware of how they need a receiver to contain all of that pain and knowledge. But you have to suffer like that all the time, Jonas pointed out. The giver nodded. And you will. It's my life. It will be yours. Jonas thought about what it'd be like for him, along with walking and eating, and he looked around the walls of books. Reading? That's it? The giver shook his head. Those are simply the things that I do. My life is here. In this room? The giver shook his head. He put his hands to his own face, to his chest. No, here, in my being, where the memories are. My instructor in science and technology have taught us about how the brain works. Jonas told him eagerly. It's full of electrical impulses. It's like computer. If you stimulate it, simulate one part of the brain with an electrode, it. He stopped talking. He could see an odd look on the giver's face. They know nothing, the giver said bitterly, bitterly. Jonas was shocked. Since the first day in the annexus room, they had together disregarded the rules about rudeness, and Jonas felt comfortable with that now. But this was different and far beyond rude. This was a terrible aggression. What if someone had heard? He glanced quickly at the wall speaker, terrified that the committee might be listening as they could at any time. But as always during their sessions together, the switch had been turned to off. Nothing? Jonas whispered nervously. But my instructor, the giver, flicked his hand as if brushing something aside. Oh, your instructors are well trained. They know the scientific facts. Everyone is well trained for his job. It's just that without the memories, it's all meaningless. They gave that burden to me, and to the previous receiver, and the one before him. And back and back and back, Jonas said, knowing the phrase that always came. The giver smiled, though his smile was oddly harsh. That's right, and next it will be you, a great honor. Yes, sir. They told me that at the ceremony, the very highest honor. Some afternoons, the giver sent him away without training. Jonas knew on days when he arrived to find the giver hunched over, rocking his body slightly back and forth, his face pale, that he would be sent away. Go, the giver would tell him tensely. I'm in pain today. Come back tomorrow. On those days, worried and disappointed, Jonas would walk along beside the river. The paths were empty of people except for the few delivery crews and landscape workers here and there. Small children were all at the childcare center after school, and the older ones are busy with volunteer hours or training. By himself, he tested his own developing memory. He watched the landscape for glimpse of the green that he knew was embedded in the shrubbery. When it came flickering into his consciousness, he focused upon it, keeping it there, darkening. ducking it, holding it in his vision as long as possible until his head hurt and he let it fade away. Fade away. He stared at the flat, colorless sky, bringing blue from it, and remembered sunshine until finally, for an instant, he could feel warmth. He stood at the foot of the bridge that spanned the river, the bridge that citizens were allowed to cross only on official business. Jonathan crossed it on school trips, visiting the outlying communities, and he knew that the land beyond the bridge was much the same, flat and well ordered, with fields for agriculture. The other communities he had seen on visits were essentially the same as his own. The only difference was slightly altered style of dwellings, slightly different schedules in the schools. He wondered what lay in the far distance where he had never gone. The land didn't end beyond those navy communities. Were there hills elsewhere? Were there vast windbound areas like the place he had seen in the memory, the place where the elephant died? Giver, he asked one afternoon following a day when he had been sent away. What caused you pain? When the giver was silent, Jones continued, the sheep elder told me that the receiving of memory causes terrible pain, and you described for me that the failure of the last new receiver released painful memories to the community. But I haven't suffered, giver. Not really, John smiled. Oh, I remember the certain one you gave me on the very first day, but that wasn't so terrible. What is it that makes you suffer so much? If you gave some of it to me, maybe your pain would be less. The giver nodded. Lie down, he said. It's time, I suppose. I can't shield you forever. You'll have to take it all on eventually. Let me think, he went on, and Jonas was on the bed waiting, a little fearful. All right, the giver said after a moment. I've decided. We start with something failure. Let's go once again to the hill and the sledge. He placed his hands on Jonas's back.